Hello everyone, welcome to CryptoPi. Bitcoin has broken the support of 74,400 and now it is trading under 70,000. What I want to talk about in today's video is there light at the end of the tunnel? We are in the midterm year. I want to show up the text which we discussed in one of the previous videos. Bitcoin cycle is divided in 4-year cycles. Pre-election year, halving years, or the US election years, post-halving year, and midterm year. We are right now in the midterm year. And if I switch on, when did midterm year begin? So all of these are the first month, and we see the price action primarily goes down for Bitcoin in the midterm year. It continues to go down until pre-election year. Price starts gaining momentum. The bullish component of the market starts gaining strength, and we see Bitcoin starts the new cycle. For this cycle, we discussed about distribution line and accumulation line. We said whenever the price has crossed the distribution line, Bitcoin has been in the downtrend, and it continues to go down until it crosses the accumulation line. And the bottom of Bitcoin happens after price has crossed accumulation line. We see this in all the previous years. Over here, it was very close. It was 1 week before. Actually, the price really crossed much later over here. True. So in this case as well, price bottomed after crossing the accumulation year. Here as well in 2018, we see the same thing in 2022. Now if I combine accumulation line with the pre-election year, that's where the light is. It gives us a very small period of time where Bitcoin, the possibility of Bitcoin bottoming is very high. In 2014, it did hit the bottom. However, that bottom was, let's say, broken again in 2015 on August 17th. But apart from this case where there was a difference of a couple of $100, in the next 2 cycles, this one and this one, Bitcoin bottomed within this time period. Now, this kind of analysis sounds pretty magic or voodoo or something like that. But the reasoning behind this kind of analysis is the accumulation lines are computed based on halving of Bitcoin. Pre-election year are decided by the government of US, and US is one of the biggest markets in the world. So these 2 lines are not popping out of thin air, but they are based on how the money is controlled and by which entity the money is controlled. The good thing about this cycle is we are getting very close to 200-week moving average. The cycle is moving faster than I anticipated, but that's the beauty of staying in the crypto market, that it does not really work the way you think it would work. 16 to 17% away from 200-week moving average is really not a big deal for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has dropped in the past 23% more than once. Also during the bullish runs, 14% here. We saw a drop in this cycle as well of 14%. Now, if Bitcoin decides to hit the moving average, definitely there will be a lot of euphoria coming back in that, all right, we have 200-week moving average as the support and we are back in the super cycle. We should remember that what Bitcoin did right now is that it crossed the break of structure of 74,000. We might see a rally if you think that order block theory is valid. we might see a rally at some point. It could be from here, from this level already, somewhere here, when the 200-day moving average reaches this order block, which is the bullish order block. This one is the bearish order block. We might see a rally over here. Maybe it comes here, goes back, bounces back up, makes another lower low, and then another drop somewhere before the pre-election year begins. That's somewhere in the fourth quarter of 2026 or before the fourth quarter of 2026. It could be September over here because our accumulation line is marked as September 20th, the week of September 21st. So price might stay here for a while or maybe give us another drop before it starts the bull run again for the next cycle. I usually tend to disagree with the super cycle model because none of the previous patterns has shown that something like that will happen this time. The narrative that we have companies, banks, countries jumping onto the Bitcoin train might this time give us a super cycle does not hold true because the same or similar narrative were presented in 2017, 2021, and also in 2025. I would be careful about listening to the narrative and making investment decisions for Bitcoin and narrative of supercycle, but I would prefer to follow what the chart and price action is telling me and what the technical indicators are telling me. One can always be wrong, obviously, but the idea of technical analysis is if the chart tells you that it is time to switch from bearish to bullish bias, or you have to change your opinion from bearish to bullish, chart will tell you, and not some random follower on Twitter. If you would simply analyze, look at what the Indian oscillator tells us. It tells us that right now bearish component is way stronger than the bullish component, and it usually remains to be strong for the whole of midterm year. This has happened in past cycle. And here one might miss maybe some percent gain over here. Maybe you missed the bottom by 20-30%. But then you enter and you ride the uptrend for next 2.5 years. But sticking to a narrative which brings you down by 60 or 70% and then waiting for almost 1.5 years before you are back to your entry position makes no sense to me. So the light at the end of the tunnel is basically these two lines. Bitcoin is likely to bottom when the price reaches in these two lines. Now, do not worry about the price. What I mean by that is Bitcoin can go sideways and end up here, and it is at 46. It does not have to drop another 50%, or it does not have to drop another 70% like previous cycles. It doesn't have to come here. It can, but it doesn't have to. So rather than thinking what would be the bottom of Bitcoin, what would be the price when Bitcoin bottoms, it's better to think when the Bitcoin is most likely to bottom. That would be all for today's analysis. If you like the content, then do hit the subscribe button. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.